Hello and welcome to Movie Monday featuring Shazam. I feel like I put this on the list like 3 years ago, but whatever.
It's more like 1 year.
But something like that, yeah. So I saw this movie when it came out in theaters, and I hadn't seen it since then. So some of this
Wait,
was
you should tell your story.
right.
'Cause
Okay, so my story for this was that, like, again, all the trailers were definitely like, oh, look at this kind of goofy comedy, right? That's like all the trailers, and so there was a lot of kids in the theater, um, as well as like, and right next to me there was a family, and uh, the first scene of the movie is like pretty fucked up. In terms of like
Yeah.
what, especially like what the characters say to each other at the moment. So yeah, there's a moment very early on, like 5 minutes in, where like basically like the dad of a kid like turns around in a car and like yells at his son, like calls him a little shit or something, and like right when that happened, like the mother of the family who was next to me just went like, oh no. Like she had this like she's like, what am I subjecting my children to? Because again, this is PG-13. So, and like, again, there's the early scene, but also the other scene that's like almost even worse is like the whole like boardroom scene.
That was so scary.
I know,
That
that's
was
like legitimately
terrifying.
completely fucked up and scary.
I was just like, this is horror movie shit right
I
here.
know.
At first, I was like, okay, is it? Because in a previous DC film, there's like the scene in Wonder Woman, right, where the scientists like poison the whole boardroom or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the route I thought it was going, where it's like that'll happen, it'll zoom out, you'll hear screams of terror. Still scary, but at least you're not seeing the actual thing, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, in this case, you actually see people getting like ripped apart or thrown through windows.
Or
Yeah.
like someone's head getting bit off. I was just like, how did they get this past like the censors?
Again, like this is like PG-13 for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm just thinking now of like all those kids who are like, we're gonna see the funny movie Shazam, but it's like how many of them are like traumatized by it?
I couldn't watch that part.
Like if there was like a PG-15, I think that would be more appropriate because I was just like, there's some. Yeah, Valid was right. There was a lot of fucked up imagery and shit in here. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yep. So that was the thing. That said, the actual comedy part is good.
Yeah.
It's I like how the characters, I mean mainly the Billy and Freddy, but kind of a lot of others too. Well, especially Billy and Freddy, they're like kind of dicks. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're kids.
right, it's like dickishness that makes sense for like 14-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
So I think that works. So then again, like just when when he first gets the Shazam powers, they're just fucking around, and like
Yeah.
that's
It's
kind
like
of
that would make sense for like
yeah.
especially for a 14-year-old who can turn into an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, I would like one of your finest beers, please.
And then he goes to like a strip club.
Yeah. And then so there's that. And again, a lot of that stuff. It's like I feel like in a lot of other movies they like wouldn't quite go as far with this idea as that this one does. Especially like buying the beer thing, to me that's like, okay, that's something, but like especially the strip club thing, I'm like, I actually didn't expect them to go that far.
No.
I'd forgotten that was in this movie. I remembered the convenience store thing, at least part of it, but yeah. And then like again when like the robbers show up and they're just like, wait, shoot him, and they're like, wait, no, shoot him in the face. It's just like wait. So yeah, that stuff's so good.
And then
Yeah.
Freddy being like super villain. Like
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
his reaction is like, oh my god, this is the super villain. What do I call him? The super villain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I think
And then
especially well, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say another really comedic moment that I found really hilarious is when the guy is giving his like evil villain speech.
Oh yeah, and Billy's just like, I can't hear you.
I do. Super hearing is not one of my powers.
Mhm. Yeah. that. And yeah, I think so. The actor who plays the older, Shazam person is Zachary Levi. He does a really good job with this.
Yeah.
Where he definitely comes
Like,
off as like totally buy that he's like, a 14-year-old and like an adult.
Yeah,
body.
I really like seeing when it's like those things where it's like one actor trying to impersonate another actor.
Because that also happened in Jumanji too.
It's so
where
funny.
like all the actors have to actually play like the role of that other actors did. And
yeah.
Because I guess spoiler, when all the other like Shazam show up too.
Oh yeah.
That was really cool too.
Oh yeah.
It was so funny.
And it's like you knew which kid was which, even if you like color coding aside, you still knew which kid was which.
Yeah, like again, Freddy of course being the one who's like pointing out all this stuff, and like again, Darla is going up to Santa or whatever, yeah. So I think it's just like that aspect of it. I think is just really well done. And even though again, like I said, even though the kids are dicks, it's like it's still overall likable given what's happening. It's just sort of like again, despite the stuff that is kind of like legitimately scary. Besides that, this is kind of just sort of a fun experience for a fair amount of it. So that works in that case. I have one criticism. It's a small criticism, and it's that I feel like the beginning, like third, is kind of rushed a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
it happens at breakneck speed.
Yeah. They really throw you in like really quickly in terms of everything.
Like considering how some of the other DC EU movies were like 2.5 hours long, I'm kind of surprised that this one stayed closer to 2 hours because they could have used the extra like 10-15 minutes to slow down the first third a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, at this point, because this was definitely came out in 2019. So this was definitely like
right before pandemic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like this is definitely after kind of like Batman v Superman, like the original Justice League. Like, basically, this kind of and Suicide Squad. This sort of was made and released after that initial wave of like, oh wait, people don't like this. So I can see how they would be like, okay, wait, let's not make a 3-hour movie here that like nobody gives a shit about anymore. So
I feel like the other thing that also works is that it's not all just fighting scenes, because I feel like a lot of DC EU films, it's just like fight scene after fight scene, insert emo scene here, fight scene after fight scene. Here it's like fight scenes are actually very far and few in between.
Because I guess I like this kind of somewhat unique approach of like, let's make a kid like a superhero, but when he's a superhero, he's also an adult. Because it just gives the adult actor so much like to work with, and he's just like, oh, I can like dick around like when I was 14. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, I know I looked into this a while ago, but the character has been around in the comics for a while and like in animated stuff too, so it's not like he's like a new character. But here, okay, something that's very confusing is that originally this character's name was Captain Marvel.
What?
Oh, I think I heard about this.
Oh,
yeah. There's a whole weird story behind that, and I know I watched a video on it. I don't remember the details, so I'm not going to say anything, but basically it was a whole mess, and basically after a long time, finally DC was like, alright, fine, fuck it, we'll change his goddamn name. So, yeah. Although it's kind of funny, because I'm pretty sure he still said the word Shazam to transform.
Yeah.
Before, whatever.
Oh.
I don't know. Again, weird situation. But, yeah, so, I do actually also know, I totally forgot this was a thing, but there actually is a sequel to this that's coming, I think, like, November.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's like, it's late this year, I'm pretty sure, but I don't even think there's been a trailer. I don't know, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, I probably won't see it in theaters, but I might check it out later. to see how it is. Again, I don't know anything about what really would happen. I mean, there's the credit scene in this movie, which is a thing.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, with the caterpillar,
Yeah.
and we were all like,
What the fuck?
I was like, Valen, explain to us
I-
what the caterpillar is, and you were like, I have no idea.
I have no idea. I've never seen them before, in any DC stuff that I've watched. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think this just is, especially compared to the other DCEU movies, this is the best one.
Yeah, easily the best.
Yeah.
Like, there's no competition. Like, they
Yeah.
can't even.
Yeah, well, okay.
This is way better than Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman is decent, but I think there's definitely like some people who are like, they put Wonder Woman on this pedestal of like, oh my god, this film is so great, and I'm like, it's not bad, but like, it's just not like an
Especially
amazing
that
movie.
last ending bit with
Yeah.
Barry.
That was so weird.
Yeah, so yeah, this one is definitely the best one. Although to be fair, I don't think I've seen any of the ones that, because what other ones have like released after this? Like,
I have no idea. Like,
Isn't
there-
it like
Birds-
Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey?
Birds of
oh
Prey.
yeah, okay, so there was that Birds of Prey thing. I've heard mixed things about that. Some people like it, some people don't. So there was the Wonder Woman sequel, which everyone says is bad.
Yeah, I heard about some dubious stuff in that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like dubious consent.
So
I know. Shit. What am I thinking of? Well, here I'm looking at it. Yeah, okay. The James Gunn Suicide Squad. I mean, everything that I've seen, people say it's good, but I haven't seen it, and I don't really have a desire to see it that strongly.
Not really, no.
Yeah, and that's actually it. Until this year. Yeah. Okay. So it was right. So the Shazam
Dude, what are
sequel.
they gonna do about the Flash? Since there's the whole thing. with
Right,
what
so okay,
happened.
the thing with so because I swear they've been saying that they're gonna make a Flash movie for the last like 5 years. They're like, we're totally gonna make a Flash movie like 2 years from now, and they keep saying that like every the last like 5 years. So, and if all this is happening, yeah, there's shit with the actor or whatever. So I have no fucking clue. But yeah, I don't know.
There's apparently going to be a Batgirl movie.
Even though
In
apparently it says 2022, but like,
it has
don't
no
have-
date.
yeah, that's probably not happening. At least not happening in 2022. I know Black Adam is a thing that I know has a trailer. I don't know anything about Black Adam at all, like as a character.
I've never
What?
even heard of.
The only
What is
I've
Black-
heard of them, like, because they're in like the Injustice video game, but like that's it. I don't even know like what their deal is at all. So yeah, we have Aquaman sequel. I know that was the thing. Yeah, Flash, Blue Beetle. I've is in Young Justice. So assuming if they're going that route, which I believe I remember seeing that they were. Yeah, Jaime Reyes. Okay, yeah, I know him from Young Justice. In that, he's pretty good, but I would argue that, well, in Young Justice, most things are good, so doesn't
Not
say
to
too
say,
much.
is it a buggy? Just like Stitch, where he was like, "Come, buggy."
No.
Or no, punch buggy. That was what.
Okay, no. I'll explain. It's the thing. Basically, imagine like someone who has like an Iron Man suit, but it's like a parasite. It's like it like latches on and like won't let go and like tries to command you to do stuff for it and shit like that. Yeah. Anyway, Shazam. So because I think this movie didn't make a lot of money. It wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't that great. So, and I think especially given what happened with like, again, Suicide Squad, Justice League, all those movies, people were probably just like, and also again, Shazam as a character is not super well known. So I think people were
Right,
just sort of
yeah.
like, I don't want to risk it, basically, in terms of watching this. So if you haven't seen it, I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, just be warned that it does get a bit scary.
Yeah, it's so funny because again, like obviously it makes well, it's reasonable that the trailers wouldn't necessarily show that stuff off. Okay, that's kind of
Yeah.
reasonable. What doesn't make sense to me is like any sort of movie review that I've read or watched has never mentioned it either. They only talk
That
about
doesn't
how
make
it's this
any
goofy
sense.
comedy, and I'm like, am I crazy? Like, what is happening? Why is nobody
You're
ever
not
mentioned
crazy.
it? Okay,
You're not crazy. It was scary.
thank you. So yeah,
I can also verify it is scary at some point.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just like, why is nobody ever mentioning this? This is so weird. So, there's that. I guess if you're gonna watch this, don't have your, like, young child with you.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So, yeah. But if you are teenager or older, I'd say go ahead. It's just good. Um, and I'm glad you guys liked it too.
Yes.
So, what's the rating you think you're gonna give? If you're not sure, I think I know what I'm gonna do.
Go ahead, Valen.
Okay. So coming into this, I was actually because again, I remember watching it in the theater and I remember really liking it a lot. So coming into this, I was actually expecting to maybe even give this a 9. But I will say the pacing in the beginning just dropped it down to be a high 8 for me. But
Okay.
again, considering the other DCEU stuff, that's noticeably better than
I
the
was
other
also
stuff.
thinking of giving it a high 8 also. Like I definitely was like, wow, this is a really fun take on it, but you know, it's scary. I guess like the thing that the Batman did in particular that gave like me that pushed me to give it a 9 was like it mixed a bunch of genres that I really liked together. So I guess that kind of helped with that. But this is a very solid superhero like movie, but absolutely the best in the DCEU.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
I
Batman
think
is
for that reason
officially.
I have to give it an 8, like an 8,
Yeah.
because yeah, we're really doing triple digits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, like just for clarity's sake, the Batman movie is not part of the DCU
Yeah, it's not part of the
officially.
DCEU. It's part of the Robert Pattinson EU.
The Twilight EU.
Oh my god.
He finally became a vampire.
He finally became a bat.
He finally become Bat. Okay. So yeah, that was good. And and so the reason why, because you think like, wait, shouldn't you be like doing the show at this time? And where was this review discussion, whatever, last time? So last week our schedules were like really busy, but we were like, hey, we have this one day where we'll be able to record stuff, so it'll be okay. And that one day, my internet went out for like 13 hours, so
Yeah.
it didn't happen.
So we planned to do it on time, but
Yes.
life happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna
So we're gonna have another second Monday. Second Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday.
So
Yes.
Tara, it's your turn. What is it going to be?
All right, so I was debating on this for a little bit of like what we should do, what show should I pick, and everything. I knew it was going to be an anime, and up until like actually right before we watched Shazam, I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to pick and stuff. And then while watching Shazam and everything, I had this like flashback
Okay.
to a different show. And I was like, I mean, I have no idea if you remember this, but way back when we first started the whole Show Sunday thing, we were jokingly like, oh, maybe we should watch this at some point. Because we had tried watching an updated version of it. But then,
Okay.
So the thing that I'm going to put on the list that Valen may or may not hate me for is the original Sailor Moon.
Oh.
Okay.
That's a plot twist. I did not know that.
Okay, so the reason why I have not actually watched the original Sailor, or like I haven't watched it completely all the way through and stuff. But the reason why I got reminded of it is that the whole bit of like them getting superpowers and then kind of running away, that whole thing is actually something that happens. And
Right.
I had watched like the first few episodes because I think someone had like the first few episodes, like the VHS or whatever. So we watched it, and that is something that happens, and I got reminded of it, and I was like, well, I mean, we tried watching like the updated one, like
Sailor Moon Well, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But that kind of was a dumpster fire. But everyone always quotes and mentions like and memes like the original Sailor Moon, and like not like ironically or anything. It's just like an actual thing. So I was like, well, I mean, I got reminded of it during Shazam, and then the part where they all are like color coded and everything. I was, yeah, wait, this reminds me of Sailor Moon. Why not? We'll watch Sailor Moon. So yeah, we're watching Sailor Moon. Thanks, Shazam.
Okay.
I'm gonna assume you've never watched Sailor Moon.
Correct.
Okay.
I feel like Valen's
the only
just
thing
like...
I know is the whole like cousins thing.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about the lesbian cousins.
That's literally the only thing I know.
I feel like Valen, you're just like, this is not what I thought Tara would get out of Shazam.
I mean, I didn't know anything about what it was gonna be, so.
Yeah, I was gonna go with a completely different show. Well, we're gonna do Sailor Moon. So.
That's really funny, because I remember specifically before we watched this, I was like, Tara, you know what you're doing, right? And she was like, yeah. It's like, well.
I
mean, the whole changing mind thing has happened before.
I know,
and then
it's
I watched
just funny.
Shazam, and then I had a flashback, and I was like, you know what, that might be more fun to do. And it would be on topic, too, so why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, I think I probably watched the most of Sailor Moon, but I haven't seen all of it, and I haven't seen it in sequence. Like, I know parts of it. That too, I do know the dub, and I did see the quote-unquote cousins in the dub version, so that'll be a funny story.
I watched, like, the first couple of episodes, one other random episode, and then I watched the movies. Which, I guess after we watched the first 6 episodes of Sailor Moon, then we can put the movies on the list, I guess.
Oh boy.
Which, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
In any case, Tuxedo Mask will be seeing Tuxedo Mask next
and he
week,
will
I
do
guess,
absolutely nothing.
as he usually does. That's not a spoiler. I think everyone's aware of this.
Okay.
Bye.
Alright, that's that, I guess.
Bye.
Bye.